Hi, I'm Claudia Brown Coulter with Pivotal Peace. I'm your go-to mediator for navigating divorce while parenting children with special needs. I'm also a legal document assistant, LDA, based in the greater Los Angeles area. Let's talk about how child support is calculated. It is not easy, right? Like you can't pull out your calculator and be like, bam, I got a child support number. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got to have like a complicated software. Now, I will say there are a few places that have software out there that can give you a close estimate of what the official software will be. But this is not just like crunching numbers. This is the whole formula and you need a whole software for it. So let's talk about the purpose. The purpose of child support is to support the child. It's so that they have a comparable style of living at both households. It's if a parent is gone, this parent who is gone still has a duty to support their child. And money support is not the same as emotional support, but they need to also, you're not giving them emotional support, but you are giving them financial support. Children need both. They need emotional and financial support. But if you're gone, all you're providing is financial support, you better pony up. Right? You cannot control this. You cannot control this. This money is not a check written to the children. It is a check written to the other parent. It is money deposited in the other parent's account, and you cannot tell them how to spend it. Hopefully, they provide food and shelter for their child, your children, and not other things that are not related to the children. But even if they do, you don't have control over that. I just need you to know that now. This is the issue with divorce. You lose a lot of control. There's still responsibility with far less control. So go into this with your eyes wide open. It's really important, though, that this number is fair. It's fair to everyone involved. And ultimately, this is about your children. They need to have a safe place to live. They need to have food. They need to have clothes that are in good repair, that are clean. They need to have more than one set of clothes so that they're not wearing the same clothes every day unless, they go to school where they have to wear a uniform. They need to not become a target because they're hungry, because their clothes have holes in them, because they're not provided for. So that's part of the responsibility of child support. How is this calculated? There are several factors. One of the most important factors is the parent's income, and this is gross income, not net. Nobody lives off the gross income. The state of California, they don't care about that. They want to look at your gross income because you could be, withholding a lot of things from your paycheck that are not essential. They do not care. They do not care that you're doubling up on your retirement savings. State doesn't look at that as essential. Okay, so they want to look at your gross. Some people lie and cheat and they take... They're not necessarily lying. They just take a lower paying job. So in a way, it's cheating the system. They're cheating their kids. So maybe during the marriage, they were a high earner and they're like, F you, I can't stand you. I'm not paying support. I'm going to move across this country. I'm not going to see my kids. Oh, I'm obligated to pay support. Okay, well, I'm just going to make like half the amount of money I would have made because I'm not paying you. Who does that hurt? It hurts your kids. And who gets the boomerang effect of that karma? You do. You do. You might not feel it right away, but you have to walk around in life knowing that you did that to your kids. That you are that petty of a person. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. This is not about the other person. And if you don't have to move out of state, don't. I know a lot of people who have chosen different ways of a parenting plan, of a custody schedule, of a time share schedule, because they don't want to pay support. Whether that's right or wrong, they are more present in their child's life. Okay. And I'll say, my opinion is it's better than running across the country and not seeing your kids at all and then not paying support. This was not a client of mine. This is somebody that I know personally. That's a sad story, right? Like, don't do that. Don't be that. Okay. So they want to look at both of your incomes. They're not just looking at your gross income. They're also looking at commissions, bonuses. Obviously, bonuses vary. If you get a bonus, that's part of your income. And so your children should get that little extra bonus too. This is sharing that income. You're also looking at, and this is where it's good or bad in California. This is where people are like, well, I'm not paying you support, so I want 50-50 custody, which is not always best for the kids, right? It's not always best for the kids. But California looks at the amount of time each parent spends with the other child. And what they're really looking at is overnight. How many overnights are they with parent A? How many overnights are they with parent B over the course of a year? This isn't so nuanced where someone has lost a custodial day. Maybe parent A was sick, so parent B picked up a couple more custodial days and it's like, oh, well, now you owe me child support. It's not like that. It's not nitpicky like that. Those things ebb and flow. The next year, parent B is going to be sick and parent A is going to pick up the slack. All of those things even out. They're looking at, in general, do you have a 70-30 split? Do you have a 50-50 split? Just because you have a 50-50 split does not mean that there's no child support. And we'll get into that. The other thing that is important to consider in child support is the number of children. They all get their own support. And the way this is calculated is the oldest child actually gets less support. And the middle child gets a little bit more support than the oldest child, and the youngest child gets the most support of all of them. You're not paying checks to your children. These checks do not go to these minors. They go to their parent, their other parent. Here's the rationale behind that. Your oldest child is going to age out of child support. And rather than recalculating child support again, then you just subtract the oldest child's amount from your child support, and then you're paying child support just for the remaining children that are still there. So it's a step down method. The other option is some people go, we're going to just look at this every year. We're going to exchange tax returns every year and recalculate this because you make a buku amount of money. You have lots of commissions, lots of bonuses. Your income ebbs and flows every year. So we're going to reevaluate this every year and recalculate support every year. But if your income is steady, then you can probably keep the same DissoMaster. This is what the report is called, a DissoMaster report. That's what the calculator is called. And then just subtract that amount for the children once they age out of child support. The court also takes into account health insurance and medical expenses. So who pays for the kids' health insurance? There are additional things on top of child support that you should know about. Their extracurriculars. How is that going to be split? The uninsured medical expenses, those types of things. There's starting September 1, there is a new change in how, September 1, 2024, a new change in how child support is calculated. Because these additional costs, they're usually split 50-50 somewhere in the calculator. They're usually split 50-50. But starting September 1, these changes are being made so that these split, the default is going to split on proportion to your income. So instead of, say, tuition, that additional cost, or the health insurance that one parent pays, and it's like, well, okay, you have to pay half of that extra in child support, it's really going to be in proportion to your income. Same thing with your childcare cost. You may think, okay, well, my kid is going into school, they're not going to need childcare. They might need before and after school care. Those are additional costs that need to be considered. Just because your child's not in a private school does not mean that they're not going to continue to need some sort of childcare cost. So let's talk about some common questions. What do you do if somebody is self-employed or they're a business owner? They need to submit with their financial disclosures, and this is why those are so important. They need to submit their last year's Schedule C or a couple years of that. They need to submit 2 years of a profit and loss statement so that whoever is running that support can see the trend and put in the average yearly amount, or they can just do the last year's amount. And then this is why you might need to come back year after year after year. to recalculate that support. The other thing is not everything is real income or a real loss of income. If you're taking a depreciation on a vehicle that you use for your business, you didn't actually pay anything out of pocket for that. That's just a depreciation to lower the amount you pay in taxes. You still have that income sitting in your account. So those things are taken into account because that's not a real expense, not for child support reasons. So you're reducing your taxes, your income for your taxes, but it doesn't necessarily translate to child support. It could be that your child support is really high and that maybe you've lost your job. And so now child support needs to be recalculated. Maybe you don't have written into your agreement that you're going to meet every year. You could go to court and file for a change of circumstances and have the court recalculate support. That's perfectly normal. That's understandable. So then also, what happens if a parent is unemployed? Really, this comes into play a lot with spousal support, but to a certain extent, if the court wanted to, they can take into account the fact that this parent is unemployed, that they should be employed, and maybe there would be a less child support amount based on that. But, if they've stayed out of the workforce for many years to raise the kids, it's not going to be necessarily easy for them to get back into the workforce. So it's not like, oh, well, you should be working, so sucks to be you. You don't get that much child support. Who's suffering in this situation? Do your former spouse and children have to live in like a week-by-week motel because they can't afford rent? Are they essentially homeless? That's not what you want for your children. And you can also talk about like, okay, this is what we're going to do for now, and let's readjust every year. Okay, you got a new job and you're making more. Great, let's readjust this. So the other question is child support taxable? Child support, the person who receives the child support, that income is not taxable for the person who receives the support. And for the person who writes the support, that income is not deductible. Kind of sucks all around. Okay, it sucks if you're paying. There is, I wish it was not that way, because that would provide more of an incentive to pay. So your incentive to pay is just to do the right thing. And you're watching this channel, so you're totally going to do the right thing. So for most folks, it's pretty basic. You're looking at your income. You're looking at certain contributions that maybe you make to retirement. Is there a mortgage payment, tuition, health insurance for the kids? All these things are just kind of rolled into one, and a number is spit out. Most people kind of just go with that. Now, there is the possibility, if you share custody 50-50, that income amount is not going to be zero. I've actually never run a DissoMaster report and had the contribution amount, this monthly child support amount, come zero. Sometimes it's like $6. And it's 50-50 custody. At that point, the couple agrees, okay, we're just going to go with $0. You still have to turn the report in. The court still wants to see that report, but you can absolutely agree to a $0 amount. You just kind of have to explain to the court why you're agreeing to a $0 amount. Now, if you're sharing 50-50 custody and someone makes a large amount of money and the other parent, maybe they were a stay-at-home parent, or maybe they just make a lot less, that child support number is not going to come out to $6 a month. It's going to be significantly more. So you need to expect that. Sometimes couples agree on the amount of what child support is well before they see a calculation. They know the needs for running the household. They know the needs for their children. And so they agree on a set amount. And that's perfectly fine as well. That DissoMaster report still needs to be run. It still needs to be turned in. And you just need to let the court know we're agreeing, just like the other couple with the $0. We're agreeing to something other than guideline amount. It's either above or below. Here is why. Really simple. Lastly, there are other people who see the calculation and go, you'd be surprised by this. People see the calculation and go, I actually don't think that's enough child support. I don't think this calculation is really what needs to happen in order to make sure that these children's needs are met. So I'm going to pay more. You might not believe me, but it does happen. It happens quite a bit. And those are wonderful. That's wonderful. Right? This is a person who knows their responsibility to their family. That's great. That's fine. You can use that child support number to go, okay, let's actually change this amount and do more. Same thing. You've agreed to a different amount than the report. You just need to report, we've agreed to amount above guideline. Here's why. No problem. No problem. You can be, you have a little bit of flexibility here, not a ton, but you have a little bit of wiggle room with child support. It's not like spousal support where you can just say, we're not going to do it. No, the court maintains jurisdiction over child support and can order it at any time. Okay, so you can't like waive child support. This is why, like, if you decided to get a prenuptial agreement before you were married, you could waive spousal support, but not child support. No. Never, ever. So how do you make sure that these numbers are accurate? Sometimes I work with clients in a mediation session and they tell me, oh, that's not actually accurate. That was old, and we'll readjust things on the spot. That's great. But you want to provide the most updated information possible. Make sure it's accurate. Don't be lying. Don't be lying. Keep a record of, okay, how much did I actually pay last year in all of their extracurricular fees? Like, they want to play hockey this year and it's really expensive, or they want to do fencing because they saw it in the Olympics and now I got to buy a sword, or I don't even think it's called a sword, right? Now I got to buy all this expensive equipment and I don't even know if they're going to stick with it, right? Do your best to keep an accurate accounting of all of the whims of your child and your children and how much they cost. Maybe they need braces. Maybe they need something extra. Maybe they need extra glasses. All of these things that your kid needs. If they've got extra therapy appointments, all of those copays, all of those extra things, keep a record of it so you actually know, how much is this child costing me? I love you, but you expensive. And then be prepared that things may change. Like I said, you might need to meet every year to readjust the support. As the kids get older, they get more expensive, right? The things get smaller, but the price tag gets way higher. So just be prepared to adjust. Your children are not suffering if they don't get something, that they're going to be okay, right? They're not suffering. They have two parents who love them, who are providing for them. Good for them. How lucky are they that they have two parents that care for them, that are doing everything they can for their success. So if they don't get the latest, most expensive thing, they're going to be okay. Suffering produces great character, right? We don't have to give them everything. I'm preaching to myself. Okay, so if you need help coming up with a child support calculation, if you need help negotiating these items with your soon-to-be ex, if you need help coming up with something that's a little more equitable, that meets the needs of your children without like gouging your spouse, come talk to me. Schedule a time to talk. I'd be happy to chat with you to help you figure out what these numbers should be. Guys, have a great day, and I will see you soon.